This program is a modification of the Chapter 5 program. In this program, we're adding code to allow the user to run the program as many times as they would like and to display a total at the end of the program. We're going to do this with something called a sentinel controlled loop. So it's a different type of loop. We use the while structure for this. And we use a sentinel controlled loop when we don't know how many times a loop will occur, but it will be controlled by a specific value that the user entered. So in blue, I have highlighted the differences, the additions to the program. So in the processing, the differences allow the user to enter multiple orders, display the total cost of all the orders at the end of the program. So the entering multiple orders, that's repetition. That's a loop. To do this, we have to add some variables. We need a variable that will control the loop. So we'll ask the user, would you like to process orders? And if they say yes, then we will process the orders. That's an input variable, and we're going to call that process question in our notes. We also have to add the total cost of all the orders. So basically, when we do this, we're kind of adding a shell around our existing code. Here's the loop. Ask the user if they would like to process, and then repeat the loop while the user answers yes to the process question. So we say, would you like to process some orders? And if they say yes, then we will continue down and do this code. The code that's not highlighted is exactly the same as the code in the original program. If we're going to gather a grand total, the total cost of all the orders, we do have to add to that. So that was added here. And then here's the ending of our loop. We ask the user again if they would like to process, and then we mark the end of the repeat. So the user, what they enters, this is a loop back up around, and it'll check again. So ask the user if they would like to process. If they say yes, it'll come down here, repeat while the user answers yes. Well, they answered yes, so now it'll do this code. And then once the code is done, it'll ask the user if they would like to process. So if the user says yes, it's going to go back up, check while the user answered yes. Well, they answered yes, so we're going to go down and through this code. If the user answers anything other than yes, it's going to go back up and check this, and it'll say repeat while the user enters yes. Well, if they entered no or something else, then the program will end. So it will exit the loop and come down to the code after the end repeat, display the total cost of all the orders. Down here, I have transferred the logic to the code. So we added the logic that was up in the IPO chart down here and the corresponding code to go with it. And we missed a blue here. So our process question is going to be a character. They're going to enter Y or N. Total cost of all orders is going to be a double. Come down to the processing, ask the user if they would like to process. So we see out, would you like to process orders? We tell them what we would like them to enter, Y or N. Then we get what they enter, Y or N. And then remember, when you get character input, you should generally change it to uppercase. It makes our checking easier in our if statements and our while statements. So we change that variable process to uppercase. Now here's the beginning of my loop. Repeat while the user answers yes to the process question. So while process equals Y. So we're checking for uppercase Y because we change process to uppercase up here. We mark the beginning of this while loop with our curly brace. And then through, the rest of the code is pretty much the same. We're adding the total cost of the single order to the total cost of all orders. And then down here at the bottom, we ask the user if they'd like to continue processing. So once again, would you like to continue processing, yes or no? We get the variable process and change it to uppercase. Here's the end of my repeat or my while. When the code runs, it will come back up and it will check this loop again. If process is equal to Y, it will continue down through. If not, it will exit the loop and come down to the line after the end while. This cout endl, the total cost of all the orders. This has been transferred over to the program. I'm going to run it so you can see what it looks like. So here's my prompt, the beginning of my loop. Would I like to process orders? I'm going to say yes. Enter the pounds of tea ordered. Well, 1 pound of tea, $1 per pound. Cost of the tea is $1. Shipping charge is $15. Total cost of the order is $16. That is correct. Would I like to continue processing? Yes, I'll do another one. 10 pounds of tea at $10 a pound. Cost of the tea is $100. Shipping charge is 0. Total cost of the order is $100. Okay. Would I like to continue processing? No, I'm finished. And then it exits the loop and it displays the total cost of all the orders. And if we look at that, 16 and 100 is 116, so it's working correctly. Let's try it again. Sometimes the user will start a program and realize that once they've started it, they don't really want to do it after all, but I like to process orders. If I say no right away, it's going to exit. Again, this is a Sentinel controlled loop. It's called Sentinel control because I don't know how many times the loop will execute. They could enter 10 orders or 2 orders or 1,000 orders. It doesn't really matter. What controls the loop is a value, a specific value. So as long as process is equal to that specific value, then the loop will continue. Sentinel control.